You're listening to the Hello Lovely podcast with Christie Williams, episode 88. Hi Lovely, so nice to have you back. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that keeps a lot of people from going for their dreams. I'm talking about new goals, healthier habits, working out, new job, moving, going on a trip, turning a side business into their main source of income and being their own boss. All of it. The fear of total failure. So this is what we're addressing today, how to address your fears and how to set up your expectations so the fear of failure doesn't keep you from taking action. The reason I didn't just title the podcast Fear of Failure is because the failure I'm speaking of is when you have this fear of failure in starting a goal, the fear feels more final. So if it doesn't go perfectly or you don't get the results you expected, there is this feeling, this experience that it was a total failure. So let's talk about failure. Fails, failing, getting an F. Let's bring any thoughts about failure to the surface. They are welcome here. That's what we want to look at. If you want to avoid the thought of failure, it makes perfect sense because we've grown up our whole lives hearing that an F is bad and you don't want to be failing and don't fail and those kind of things. So we're going to be talking about failure in a much more empowering sense in the way I'm referring to it today. Okay. So failure in the way I'm referring to it today is letting your effort and success be messy until it's second nature. Trying one thing and learning what worked and what didn't work. Adjusting what didn't work so you can do it again, but just a bit differently with what you've learned. And then repeating until the result is accomplished. So the goal is not to avoid failure. No matter what result you get, don't believe you're a total failure. That's for sure. It doesn't serve you. I want to highlight this because it's common when you're feeling discouraged, dejected, or disappointed in yourself. It's usually connected back to an idea or thought that you're a total failure. And we just want to bring this to the surface because that's not a fact that you're a total failure. And once we can see it with awareness like dejected, disappointed in ourselves, once we can separate that from the actions you take to accomplish and achieve a new result, you can look at the actions you take and the work you put in a lot more objectively. And that's what you really want. In order to achieve success, it doesn't have to look perfectly. In fact, in most cases, it won't. And we keep attaching to this idea as if that's what's required for success. It's just an expectation that will set you up feeling more failure. Fascinating, right? So this episode is to give you a new perspective on failure or trial and error so you can keep working towards your results, trust the process, use a strategy, and do an evaluation. If this hasn't been the way you've approached goals or a change in habits in the past, it makes sense why failure and unexpected attempts are so frustrating. Wondering if what you're doing is working or will work, that's very frustrating. So we solve for that in coaching by having a roadmap that covers what you'll be doing to accomplish the new results you want, an objective look at trial and error. But this is the thing. Don't connect your results or past failures to your ability. Don't connect your result or past failures to your worth. Making it mean that if you had an attempt in the past and didn't get what you wanted, that you either can't do it or are bad at it. So let's be very real and objective about this. This is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing that you want to feel positive, that you don't want to make a mistake. And it's not a bad thing when you make a mistake along the way. This is something that we have to totally approach our minds with so differently because the ultimate goal in our mind is don't mess this up. So when we make a mistake with that expectation, we do feel like a total failure. It does feel like our goals are a total failure when they don't go the way we expected them. So again, just lovingly bringing this all to the surface so you can look at it as if it was on a platter. So this is the best news because you can take the pressure off. Okay, so here's an example of that. Each week I attend meetings and sometimes I receive an assignment for them in advance where I'll prepare a talk and lead a presentation in front of a couple hundred people. When I'm asked to do a substitute, it makes it so much easier for me. When it's not an official assignment and they're like, hey, can you do a sub? I actually have less time to do it and I'm not sure like off the bat who my assistant's going to be or any of that, but I feel zero pressure. I'm like, it's a sub, so this is easy. Versus when I get an official assignment, I want to make it perfect. I want to practice, a little stress here, a dash of, I hope this goes right, and voila, pressure. So what's the real difference between those two situations? I'm taking the pressure off myself with the substitute. With the substitute, I'm thinking, if I make a mistake, it'll be okay. With the official assignment, my mind's telling me, don't mess this up. Fascinating, isn't it? So what do you get from this? The goal is not to avoid failure. No matter what result you get, don't believe you're a total failure. Don't. It doesn't serve you. Keep working towards your results. And this is how clients are set up for success working together in coaching, is because they have all of those things. They have a process, a strategy. We do a very powerful evaluation. And if you're looking to do one of those evaluations for yourself, I walk you through one that's extremely simple on episode 82, 3 things that create an energizing routine. So enjoy. But let's go back to the 2 questions from the start of this episode. How do you address your fears? And how do you set up your expectation so the fear of failure doesn't keep you from taking action? So let's start with that first one. How do you address your fears? You think about what you want to do, and then you ask yourself, if I start this goal, what's the worst thing that could happen? Seriously. And then you list it out. What else? What else? What are my worst case scenarios? It'll all come out. Once you have that list, how do you set up your expectation so the fear of failure doesn't keep you from taking action? You'll ask yourself, if I start this goal, what is the best thing that could happen? What is the best case scenario? What opportunities will become available? What will change and improve for the better? What else? What else? Let it all come out. This is what we forget to consider when we're stuck in our fears. To take action, you step outside of the fear by putting it on paper. In coaching, you can see your fear for exactly what it is, an emotion. And it is okay to feel fear. If it doesn't feel that way now, it makes perfect sense. But fear is an emotion. It's okay to feel it. And it can come along for the ride. I like to think of emotions that are uncomfortable, that most of us want to avoid, as toddlers. I think of the emotions as toddlers, negative emotions as toddlers. And you don't let them make all the decisions. Sometimes they want to put their hand in the fire. Sometimes they want to eat candy bars for every meal. The toddlers aren't making the decisions for you. It's the same with fear. You can see what the fears are. You can see what your mind is worried about, and you're there to take its hand and say, I see you. I got you. Let's do this instead. So this is an important thing to note. When you do feel fear, remind yourself it's okay. It's not a weakness on your part. It's part of being a human. Our minds are always looking out for danger. There's 3 main things they're doing: looking out for danger, trying to make things as easy as possible, and seeking pleasure, right? That's why eating Cheetos on the couch is so much more appealing when you have a workout planned and don't feel like it. Your mind is going to offer you, just sit here and eat Cheetos. And you get to answer your mind back and be like, Cheetos do sound good, but this is what we're doing right now. Same with fear. There might be a fear of, well, what about the unknown? What about the things I'm not sure of? And you can address that fear of being like, of course you worry about that. This is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on what we know. We're going to take the next step, and we're going to let it be one step at a time, remembering the best case scenarios as well, and looking for everything that's working. So here's a resource to support you. Episode 17, How to Process Fear. It's going to give you another perspective to show why you don't have to be afraid of your fears. You don't have to be afraid of failure either. Trial and error are a part of learning new things, and it doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. Approaching your results powerfully with what worked, what didn't work, and what you will do differently will help you keep taking action and use what's working. Each time you're willing to do trial and error, you get better. Enjoy this beautiful week, lovely. I'll talk to you next time.